My name is Stephen and this is my channel, Heart's Delight Exports. Hello, so I'm back. It's time for another video, and today's a bit different. It's not a project video, it's more of a discussion video. So if you're not interested in the discussion, maybe you want to give this video a pass. So today we're talking about the things I've learned about having chickens since I built my shed and put in my chicken coop. It's the dead of winter. We have snow coming down outside again, and the chickens are inside. Just got fed and they're having a good time of it. So here's one of my girls. She likes getting up into this hay bale for some reason. It's one of her nesting spots when she gets outside of the coop. So what have I learned about having chickens? Well, for one, the indoor coop area doesn't need to be that big for 3 chickens, which is what my city allows me to have in the backyard. There were rules and stipulations at one point on the community webpage where it would say that you had to have 3 times, I think, the size of the animal for an area for that animal to be housed. Rather vague terms, actually. My city wasn't exactly thinking of chickens, I don't think, when this started. So there's that. You might want to check with your own city on what exactly rules and regulations are on having a chicken in your backyard. Generally, you want a couple of them at least, just for company's sake. They're a fairly social creature, and they like being around each other. They will get at each other. The term pecking order mostly comes from chickens. And the simple truth of the matter is that they will literally peck at each other to establish dominance and who's who in the coop. So chickens are actually fairly easy to feed. I went out just the other day with my brother and we picked up some chicken feed. This is what regular chicken feed looks like, or the new brand that I bought anyway. Cost me about $25 for 25 kg. But the truth is, chickens will eat a lot of different things. They are a bit of a scavenger, so they will eat different bits and pieces, leftover food from your own kitchen table. They are meat eaters, so they will eat meat if given to them, including chicken. Hey, you. They are a skittish creature. It's taken me a fair bit of time to get to this point to where I can reach out and touch them. You see the nervous reaction I'm getting there. I can touch them, I can pick them up, but I don't keep chickens as pets. They are a working animal. Now, you might believe that this is the only reason that I'm doing this, but the truth of the matter is that eggs are a secondary concern to me. My primary concern with having chickens, the primary reason I got them, was so that they would produce compost for my garden. Now you can see the sawdust in their coop there behind them. It's rather brown looking at the moment. It just has a higher bark content than has higher bark content than some of my normal sawdust. Now, one of the things you need to be concerned about with having chickens is the fact that they will attract rodents. You can kind of see the way that they're eating, that they will get in there, they'll make a mess, they'll tread on their food, they'll walk all over it, and when they're outside in particular, they will physically scratch at the food to send it flying and put bits and pieces of food everywhere. This means that a lot of the food that they are given to eat will not be eaten. It'll be left and saved for another day. And that means that that food then becomes a food source for other animals. In particular, mice. My little shed here is 8 by 8. I built it primarily for having the chickens in the coop. I didn't really intend to have a lot of storage down here for other things, but rodents are a concern. I have a lot of mice coming through this area, but it can be a good thing. Hopefully I don't know if I should show this, but if given the chance, chickens will eat mice. To date, I've caught 3 or 4 down here now. I have another one on the floor here behind me that looks like he got caught in a trap. He managed to get away from the trap, but subsequently perished afterwards. One of my chickens wants to be on camera. So I'm thinking I'm going to feed that mouse to the chickens. They will eat them. But I don't really think you need to see that. Now, in my city's consideration of how much area you need for a chicken, it's not exactly clear on if that area is for inside or outside. Don't peck the camera. So another thing to consider is the fact that chickens are not a clean animal. I've heard tell of people raising them for pets. My niece has one that is very cuddly and loves her dearly, it seems. My chickens haven't got to that level of cuddly. The fact is, in order to get a chicken to that level of cuddly, you either need extraordinary circumstances, which is what she seems to have gotten, or you need to raise that chicken from a chick in order for it to be used to you that way. I didn't have my chickens from that age, and to be honest, I'm not going to worry about them being that cute and cuddly and wanting to be up in my arms. Now, there are a whole bunch of health issues you can run into with chickens. I'm not even aware of most of them, but I have had one issue where one of the girls, it seems, was molting, that's where her feathers start falling out. Mostly for change of seasons. It can happen for stress, I'm told, and sometimes it's just the pecking order reestablishing itself, and somebody got aggressive and start pulling out feathers. But she ended up with a scab on her vent, which is what a polite way of saying her butt. It's where the egg comes out of, and she got some sort of scab on there. It took a while, but it went away, and I'm very glad for it because I didn't want to see the poor creature suffer, and I didn't know what else I could have done for her. It's not exactly a spot that you're going to be able to put any kind of ointment or cream or anything on. So what do? Well, one of the things you need to worry about when you have chickens is the fact that if they see blood or the color red, they will generally attack it, especially if it's a wet-looking red like blood. Alphagetti's apparently works that way too. Tomato sauce that way. They're looking at my hands at the moment, wondering where the special feed is. In them establishing the pecking order, sometimes it can get pretty vicious, and they will pick and poke at each other. They do have toenails. They are fairly good at getting at each other that way. A little kickboxer action, if you will, and they can claw a bit. More likely, though, is the fact that they're going to peck and bite at each other, which is what I figure happened to my little chicken there, that either she did it to herself or somebody else did it in pulling out feathers close to her butt, maybe made one bleed, and they bit and poked at each other, or she did it to herself, because while chickens are fairly smart, they're not always into self-preservation that way, and she might have actually did it to herself and bit and pulled at herself until she made herself bleed. And I think it might have reestablished a new pecking order. I think she might have lost a bit of the dominance of the coop. One of my chickens just pooped on the floor. Why is that worth noting? Well, they poop wherever they are. I don't think they have any control over where, barely any control over when. When they get filled up, they poop. They don't overly pee the same as mammals or other creatures would. It basically all comes out same spot, and when they have more liquid to expel, it goes with whatever's coming out at the time. But why is the poop on the floor noteworthy? They'll tread in it, they'll tread in their food, they'll continue to eat their food, and they will poop on each other. I came down to check on them a couple of days ago on my daily visits, and one of them had a blob of poop on her back because she was under a roost and one of them had to go. There's no stopping it. They have no control and no real consideration of each other that way. The one that had poop on her didn't overly seem to care. I gave it a flick off with a little twig, and it was mostly gone. She didn't care one way or the other. She was more concerned with the food I had put down for her to get at than that. So they are a bit of a dirty creature. They will go around that way. But the truth is, they're not a bathing creature as we're used to thinking of it. You're used to thinking of having a dog, or in a rare case, I guess, a cat, that if they got really dirty and into things, you'd put them in the bathtub and give them a good wash, maybe if they had a flea problem or such. You don't do that with chickens. Feathers get heavily weighed down, they lose essential oils, they can lose body heat, and they generally don't appreciate being wet. It's one of the few weather conditions I've seen so far that will keep them inside. The truth is, they're not overly bothered by the cold. If you have a strong blowing wind going through the chicken run and it gets through their feathers, then they're not very happy about it and they will retreat inside for that. But for the most part, the biggest weather condition that they dislike is rain. They don't want to be wet, they don't want to be outside in the rain, but if there's some shelter and the rain is not directly hitting them, they'll put up with some of it to be outside. Mostly as long as it's not directly falling on them. My chicken run, the way I'm thinking of this as I'm saying it, but my chicken run has a roof over at least half of it, and I have a thick lattice work, wooden lattice around the run that blocks a lot of rain, a lot of precipitation that way from getting into the run. So as long as the precipitation is blocked that way by either the lattice or the part roof, perfectly perfectly fine with being out in the rain as long as it's not falling directly on them. Now, of course, I have the girls here. They're mostly here for compost, so I'm not really getting a lot of eggs. The research that I've done so far says that they produce an egg about every 24 hours, every 23, 24 hours, something like that. So they should be producing an egg a day. That's the egg I got for today. So 2 of them are not producing, or they're taking off days. Now, there's a way to check this. Me and my brother did it, and we determined that one of them was producing, one of them was a maybe producing, and the other one was almost definitely not producing anymore. And it was basically by feeling. I'm not sure if I can demonstrate this. I don't know if I can hold the chicken in position for the camera to do it. But if you measure how many fingers width is between their hips just by laying your fingers against the outside of their body, this is not an internal exam, but by feeling where their hips are and seeing how many fingers fit between their hips, you can kind of get an idea for how wide their hips are and if they're still able to pass an egg that way. Something I've only done once, so I'm not exactly a great inspirational speaker on that point. So what else do I know about chickens? Well, they need a nesting box, but generally speaking, one of them will share a nesting box with 3, 4, 5 others. So they don't all need an individual nesting box. So that could be a waste of space if you're trying to put in one for everybody. Generally speaking, you're better off having one nesting box, letting them share, and not worrying about it. Have more floor space for them. Now, to return to another point I made earlier about the height of my chicken coop here, part of that was because of a thing I had seen on videos about how chickens like getting up off the ground for warmth, for protection, for security. They generally want to be up off the ground. One of their natural survival instincts would be to climb a tree. Hello, girl. There we go. She doesn't mind being up here, but generally speaking, it can be awkward to get her up here. This is Harriet. Harriet's the chicken that I named. So we have Harriet, we have Chicken Little, who has a white ruffle feather across the backside here, and we have Chiquira. Chiquira's the chicken my daughter named, and mostly named her that way because she has a saucy, squinty eye. But chickens like being up on a roost. They like being up off the ground. And if you have a setup similar to me with an exit door on floor level for them to go out into a run, generally they'll appreciate just being able to get up off of that level to where there's a bit more heat. Now, one thing for them is how much heat do they want? Do you need to keep them considerably warm like a dog or a cat, like an internal pet? Do you want to keep them that warm? Generally not. She's pretty content there at the moment. I do have a heater down here in the shed. You see a video I put up just a little while ago about lighting up my coop. That one was about providing light. I know I said a few times in the video about it providing heat, and it does. It does provide some heat, but it's considerably less than what I thought it was going to be at the time. I never did upgrade the light bulb to a heat lamp light bulb that would provide a considerably higher amount of heat. It is still just 100-watt light or 60 watt. Not sure if it's 60 or 100 watt I got in there now. I think it's 60. But it provides some heat. Again, if they're up on the roost, it's close to the roost, close enough that that if they're up there, they can get some warmth out of it. Yeah. What do you think? But generally, you need to keep it above 0 Celsius. You don't want freezing temperatures in here, but I haven't worried too much about letting it be chilly. You see, I have a sweater on. I did have a winter jacket on before I came down. I took it off for video purposes. I'm not cold exactly. When they want to get down, they want to get down now. She left a couple of marks in my hand. It's pretty good. Her nails are tough enough, strong enough. Now I forgot what I was saying. So I have a waterer in the coop with them. During the fall, when I got the chickens originally, I had the waterer outside, and this was pretty beneficial. Kept them watered for 3-4 days at a time without having to worry too much about it. Something I keep an eye on, but I didn't need to fiddle with every day. Since it started getting colder and it could frost up a bit, I started bringing it inside. So yeah, the water is there in the corner. So I just give them water. It stays nice and cold. Having it up on the chimney bricks tends to keep it out of their scratch level. They still scratch and throw around sawdust pretty good, and it will get in around there a bit, but I just take it out, clean it up. One mistake I did make is that you can see the roosting bar system I made here. It's just a branch going from one end of the coop to the other, and I put in that small branch on the end. I keep meaning to remove that, but I keep forgetting to bring down the drill. Yeah, they get right above that, and they will poop on the waterer, and it gets in their water. So that's more cleanup for me, and something nasty that they shouldn't be eating or drinking for them. I have talked to my neighbors, both before and after I got the chickens. I talked to them before, not because they could have stopped me so much, but more out of respect that just in case somebody had an objection, I wanted to know about it ahead of time so that maybe I could do something about the objection, talk to them. We could have a conversation about it and see where to go from there. But all of my neighbors basically said it's your land, your spot. You do as you want, even though we're in the city. It's no big deal to me. Now, the neighbor out behind me, he did mention that they are noisier than I thought. He has a couple dogs, so he's out in the back with them on occasion, and he could hear them. Said they can make a fair bit of noise, but it's not disturbing. You trying to turn off my video? Or are you trying to peck at that other chicken? Currently what I know about chickens is that they are pecking my boots for snow. Got ya. Alright, alright. Now if you were turned around, this would be a cool thumbnail. If you poop right now, we're having so much trouble. Nope, she said that's enough of that. Okay, so that's where I'm going to end today's video. This has been another video for Hearts Delayed Exports. My name is Steven. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was informative or amusing. Hope you didn't, I hope you weren't rooting on the chicken to poop on my face. But we'll have another video soon, and I'll see you then.